Hey everybody, it's ShadowStar, and it is finally time for me to do my episode ranking of Series 9 of Modern Doctor Who. So, goes without saying, Series 9 is my absolute favourite modern season. So before I even get into the ranking, let me just remind you that pretty much all of these stories are absolutely spectacular, and none of them are bad. So no matter where something placed on the list, remember, they are all brilliant. That being said, let's start with the bottom of the list with Sleep No More. Now, some people don't like this episode. I actually don't mind it. I can understand why people don't like it, but I think it's really clever. I love how, it's not just, let's do a found footage episode. It's, let's do it and make it narratively part of the story. It's almost meta in a sense of, because there's no opening credits, it's almost like you're literally just watching it. You are watching the story that he is putting out. It reminded me of a trailer, and I love how there's bits missing. It reminds me of Trailer of the Time Lord where the bits are missing. It's all, again, you're seeing through an in-universe perspective. So they took that and made it clever. They also made a very disturbingly gross enemy. Why would you make an enemy made out of stuff in your eyes? Ew. Imagine a whole thing made of that? Gross. But still, it's still a pretty good story. It's not amazing, but it's a good story that adds to it by having a clever meta twist in the fact of like, you're the one watching it from inside, and then they do that thing where they say something's in your eye, and it's clever, okay? It's clever. Alright. Now, let's get controversial. I'm putting Hellbent in second last position. I know, a finale ranking this low, everybody is very split down the middle. Some people love Hellbent. Some people hate it. I'm kind of in the middle, because the episode is kind of split in half. The first half of the episode is incredible. I mean, the Doctor going face to face with the Time Lords, that bit where they show off in front of the barn, the music is spectacular, all of that is great. But we have all that stuff, he faces the Time Lords, that's all fun. Then we bring back Clara. It was nice of the show to give us a sound effect to emphasize when the episode's going to shit, but, Clara had such a good ending, and then they just decide to bring her back. I know, yes, she's still gonna go back and die, but it's just not the same, And the fact is, you spent this whole season thinking, the hybrid, what's this cool, crazy hybrid? We're gonna have an epic battle in Gallifrey. Nope, we're gonna stand there with a shielder, guessing what the hybrid is. We're guessing! Seriously, it comes down to the last minute and they're still like, I've got a theory with the Time Lord, what the hybrid is. It's like, no, but I've got a theory, it's you. It's like, they just keep going back and forth. It's like they're just making it up as they go along. And still, like I said, why did we need to bring back Clara when she had, we were expecting an amazing Gallifrey story. And I can remember my disappointment when I got to watch this episode and it was just Clara. Series 9 was the first season I ever watched as it was airing, and that was the exciting part. So I can remember the emotions I felt and watching it and going through and, listening to it and all the stuff that happens online and all the build-up week by week. For better or worse, I miss the build-up week by week. That was one thing I loved. But yes, Hellbent, controversial, a lot of wasted potential, but still, a lot of good moments at the beginning. The music's good. Anyway, let's get into 7th position with The Girl Who Died. A really good story. It introduces a shielder. It starts off very fun and delightful with the Vikings and we're in the village, and then it ends all tragic because somebody dies. It's great because, we're used to stories where people die. So to have a story where the death actually means something and it really shatters the Doctor is great. They finally tie it into the face he chose and that epic moment where he stands up to the universe and says, screw this, I'm doing it. But at the same time, it's kind of a reckless decision because now she's immortal. And, reckless decisions are kind of the theme of this season. Bringing back a shielder is a reckless decision, and the consequences which will come from that we'll see. But still, it's a delightful story even before we get into that, and it's just a nice fun story before pretty much everything after that is very heavy. So, I like it. I understand not everyone's a fan of a shielder. I can understand why, but I absolutely love the story. Speaking of stories I love, and I think this one goes incredibly under the radar in this season, and that is Under the Lake and Before the Flood. First off, it's got the guitar opening theme. And it's got that bit where the Doctor explains, the bootstrap paradox or the ontological paradox. Gotta love that. I love the fact that 12 is just so happy to do a speech or talk to the audience. I love it. I mean, I'm gonna get into it soon, but oh boy. And it's just a delightful Base Under Siege. It's a Base Under Siege episode where the cast are all brilliant. All the characters are great. You remember them all. There's got clever time travel mechanics. It's a great episode which can kind of stand on its own despite all the craziness in this season. And I think it's just one that goes under the radar, so yeah, I enjoy this one. Now, Woman Who Lived. I enjoy this one more than The Girl Who Died. I mean, they're both brilliant. I know some people don't like The Woman Who Lived because they get focused on the lion, but I think this story is brilliant. It really focuses in on the downside of being immortal, and especially immortal back then. Like, sure, Jack was immortal in the 20th century, but Ashilda's been immortal in, like, the medieval times and the Dark Ages. Ashilda has had to go through such tragedies. Those moments where we just read the journals and talk about all the tragedies she's faced, it really hammers in on it. But also the episode sprinkles in some light stuff. I love that bit when, Sam Swift is about to be hung and executed, and there's lots of jokes and puns back and forth. Those are good too. So sprinkle in some light stuff, have some very heavy, deep stuff with Ashilda, and honestly, I think this is a really good story for Ashilda, and it's, once again, a great story where we really focus in on what the reality of being immortal is. Alright, 4th position. It's going fast because there's a lot of two-parters. This list is going to go fast. Magician's Apprentice and Witch's Familiar. Do you love Missy? Because she's back. What I love is, although Missy is still evil, she kind of doesn't get to be the villain of this episode. I love that we just have Missy here, and, Missy's here, she's being herself. There's lots of, partnering Missy up with Clara the whole time is utterly brilliant. There's lots of great lines with Missy. Obviously, the Doctor's insane. I love that bit where obviously you've got the Doctor on the tank with the guitar. And then you get some deep stuff with Davros and the long con and who's tricking who. But also, regardless of how genuine it is, that moment where they talk about the lives they've lived, Gallifrey's back and all that stuff, there's lots of good dynamics. And obviously the dynamic of when you find young Davros. I mean, this was a season opener. What a brilliant season opener. It's a great 2-part season opener with you bring in Missy, Davros. It reminds me of The Impossible Astronaut because, it's not an introductory episode. We don't have to introduce a new companion or Doctor, so we get to really go wild. I mean, I love how at the beginning we bring in Unit for a few minutes. It's just great to have Unit here and show Clara working with Unit, which we'll get into more. But I absolutely love that. We bring in everything. What a tremendous opening. I remember when this first aired as well, and wow, this was great. And the cliffhangers and, all the talk with Davros, the callbacks to classic series. Missy just has some incredible one-liners. The comedy, Series 9, you're just beautiful season, aren't you? Alright, 3rd place, it's Face the Raven. Clara is finally dead. And it's just a perfect combination of both her arc and the theme of this season, which is risk-taking and the consequences. There's lots of risks in this season, and I love that, and here's another risk, and this time it finally backfires. And I love how that's what I love about it. And of course, another episode where you get to see the Doctor's fury. Once Clara finds out she's gonna die, that fury that the Doctor shows to Ashilda is brilliant. You can see the fear in Ashilda. I mean, the Doctor being taller, and even in real life, the acting, that he's so tremendous, you can understand. I'd be scared in real life. That's incredible. But yeah, Shilda's great, and it's nice to bring back Rigsy. It's clever to bring back Rigsy because he was almost Clara's companion more than the Doctor's companion. There's just a lot in this episode. It's clever. I love the concept, too, of the Trap Street. I mean, the concept of this little refugee place for all these different aliens to live. It's a great story. Ashilda's great in it. Clara's great. I mean, obviously, her final moments are just beautiful. What an utterly beautiful ending for Clara. I love those moments, and the music is brilliant, too. Alright, 2nd place. And believe me, This is the toughest second place I've ever had. I kept going back and forth between which one would take second and first, and it is painful that one has to go up against the other. But in second place, I am giving it a very, very close second place to the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion. Oh my goodness, what an incredible story. First off, you've got Unit in this story, and they're brilliant. You've got Clara in the story, and she's brilliant. I love the fact that we split everyone off. Kate does her own thing, the Doctor does his own thing, Osgood's in it. I love the fact that we tie in from the Zygon story from the 50th anniversary. The plot of the Zygons being in hiding, and like most of them aren't evil, and, obviously there's a lot of symbolism to what it could connect to with real life, and, that's all great. And then you get our villain who, because she takes a form of Clara, it's played by Jenna Coleman, and this whole story, you get a villain played by her, and you got to give credit to the actress. That's all. Playing a whole different character, brilliant. She plays so brilliant, you forget you're looking at the same actress. That scene where Clara and Bonnie talk in the pod, I love the back and forth. The back and forth between what is the same actor, but the acting is brilliant, and Clara's brilliant. You really show how far Clara's come. There's just so many incredible moments in it. Having Osgood in it was great. Kate's so good in it. I love the fact that, Kate is flawed too. We don't make Kate good, but she's not evil. Everyone is slightly understandable in their rationale. Even Bonnie to some extent. And of course, we can't talk about the Zygons episode without talking about that ending speech, that entire scene. Every word is brilliant. I've said this before. Capaldi is the actor who can just do speeches. He carries that entire scene. Every little bit. The bit where he says, you haven't thought about the future. The bit where he just brings in the pain of the time war. The subtle music. The acting on everyone's faces is brilliant. The acting in Jenna Coleman when she says, I don't care. It's just so... And then look at an underrated moment. Go during that speech and go look at Kate Stewart during the whole scene. Every time they cut to her, there's just a dead expression on her face as, although the speech is for Bonnie, she's taking it in too, and oh my god, it's just... Very rarely do I cry tears of joy when watching an episode. But I cried tears of joy when watching that speech. Oh my goodness, it's unexplainable how it just hits you right there. It's just one of the best moments in the entire series, the entire show. Capaldi is brilliant, Jenna Coleman's brilliant, Kate's brilliant, everyone is brilliant. Every line, I could go over the complexities and the deep meaning behind every single line, and the way it's just like... Capaldi's so good. He has a response for everything. I could just go on and on and on. I mean, the Zygon's it's just such a perfect villain. And I love it. Their plan is brilliant. I love units. And if you think about it, it's once again the theme of consequences. Not so much this episode, but if you think about it, the Doctor made a, although well-intentioned, reckless decision. Because as Kate Stewart said, you left us with an impossible situation. And here they are having to deal with it. But oh man, the whole episode is just brilliant. I don't understand how somebody could not love such a well-structured idea, such a well-structured villain. The villains are great, the Zygons are great. I love the bit where we have to remind ourselves not all Zygons are evil, and some people forget that. They're not evil. And but it's at the same time, it's understandable how Kate Stewart could be led to her thinking. Everyone is brilliant in this episode. Okay, this was tough to break Zygons, but we all know what had to come in first place. Probably my favourite episode of the entire show. In first place, it's Heaven Sent. The best episode there is. You want a reason why Capaldi is my favourite Doctor? Here it is. I mean, I've often said Capaldi can carry a scene and give a speech when no one's there. While here he is carrying in a whole episode with no one there. The pacing in this is brilliant. At first it's such a mystery. You're going along the mystery with the Doctor. The subtle music is brilliant. And of course to get the music at the end. Utterly brilliant. The Doctor through this whole story. Again, you're led on this little slow adventure. It's just perfect. And then it turns out there's a time loop mechanic, which is even more brilliant, how it all just keeps looping in on itself. The Doctor constantly talking to the audience. The fact that, you'd think, oh, he's got no one to talk to, but he keeps talking to himself. It's such a brilliant way to explain it, without making him too insane either. It's just, I remember watching this and being in love with this episode the first time, and I still am. Oh my goodness, Capaldi, you're brilliant. But honestly, every line, and there's so many little poetic stuff in what he says. The poetic stuff, how he talks about death, or the thing that chases you, or fear, or the future, or the day you lose someone. There's so many good poetic lines. And then obviously we get the story of the shepherd's boy and the bird, and that's just an incredible scene. The fact that they just keep playing the music and showing the loop over and over and over and over again. And, you really see the utterly defeat and despair in the Doctor when he realizes what he's going through over and over again. It's just, we've had the Doctor be a little defeated or despair sometimes, but you can really see that. And since there's no companion around, no one to show off to, you really see the Doctor as he truly is. Himself, scared, upset, angry, deep meanings behind everything. It's just, that moment where he breaks out is just brilliant. It combines everything. The fearfulness, the sorrow, the epic speeches, the fury. This is the quintessential episode to show why Capaldi is incredible. So there you have it. I probably could have gone on and on and on about how much I love, but I'm probably just repeating myself, but this season is amazing. I know other people might disagree. I know some people say it's not that good. I love Series 9, okay? There, I said it. It's the best. Capaldi's the best. I used to debate whether this or Series 4 was better, but this is better. Capaldi's just incredibly powerful. He moves you to tears with what a brilliant actor he is. I could have talked about that Zygon scene for ages, the facial expressions, everything. But anyway, I'm repeating myself. Next time, it's Series 10. One that I haven't rewatched as much and don't have as much fond memories of, but there's still a lot of good stuff in it. No more Clara, time for a new companion. Let's get on with the final season, shall we? Next time, I will have more Doctor Who reviews and other things as well. See you next time, guys.